Hey, you're listening to the Printmaker podcast, where each month you'll follow one photographer's journey through the struggles and successes of switching their business from shoot and burn to in-person sales. So, if you're ready to learn how to sell your work without selling your soul, keep listening because we're getting started right now. Hey, this is Chris, one of the co-founders at the Printmaker system and your host here on the Printmaker podcast. Earlier this week, I published the first half of a product and pricing conversation I had with Texas photographer Victoria Mullaley, where we had an in-depth discussion on the products she wants to offer. Today, we're going to pick right back up where we left off as we head into a deeper discussion about how to price your work and how to handle prices that you feel are too high. So for a bit of context, I'm going to drop you right into a conversation we were having about press printed cards and how hard it is to pull a profit from them. Cards are really tough beasts to offer because you have to charge a pretty decent amount for them to be able to make it, profitable. But at the same time, people usually are not willing to pay that amount.
$166 for 25 cards.
Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of like
100 that you need to send out.
Yeah, then you're already looking at 166 times 4. So what is that? There's people listening like, really? You can't do that in your head, Chris? $664 for just 100 cards to send out. That's pretty hefty price tag. So this is the kind of thing that you really want to look at. How can I bundle this with something else? Because what you're going to have to do typically is lower the price on these cards pretty significantly. So if you have to lower the price to, instead of $166 for a pack of 25, you can really only offer those at $50 for a pack of 25 or something like that. Then, okay, we have to make up for that somewhere else. So I'm only going to offer cards to people who buy wall art or something like that. Okay, cool, because my wall art, I can get a much better cost of goods sold on my wall art because the amount that I charge versus the amount that I pay is so much kind of different than a card. So I would say something like, okay, anything you get on the wall, we can take that same image and we can put it on your cards and we can do those for $50 instead of $166. And I would put both of those prices on there. Because you want them to see just how much of a discount they're getting when they get a piece of wall art. And really what you're doing there is you're taking all of that editing time that you have to, and we're kind of getting into pricing, but whatever. You have to account for the time that it's going to take to edit that photo. Even if you sell nothing, you have to take into account the time that it's going to take to produce any sort of product. So what I would do is, okay, if you order this in wall art, great. I know I'm going to edit the snot out of that photo now because it's going on the wall, right? I will now take that editing time. It's sunk into the cost of the wall art now. I can afford to take all of that time off of the cost of the card. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now when we're looking at the time, because that cost, that $166 that you're looking at, that includes the time for editing. You remember when you filled out that calculator, it asked how long does it take you to do all of these things? Yeah. Great. We're going to calculate that into your suggested retail price now. Yeah, so what we're doing now is kind of, exactly. Yeah. So you said it's $100?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're basically ripping that $100 out, and you can see now that if you offer that at $50, then you're really not losing that much, quote unquote, losing that much money.
Really good point. That's a good way to put it because I was, I can.
Yeah, because you look at that and you're like, how am I ever going to charge that? Well, you're not. Go ahead and bundle it with something where you can make the money that you need to. Now you've covered all of those costs that are built into the cost of this product, and it makes it a lot easier to swallow. So that's something I said that we were going to talk about, was this idea that like you probably went through and you calculated your prices and then you threw up in your mouth a little and you were like, how am I supposed to charge that? This is one of those ways that you can lower those costs on some of these products, especially the ones that feel so obviously expensive. So this would be your small print, your gift prints. This is why we always suggest having two different gift print prices. You have your a la carte price and your duplicate price. And it's exactly what we just talked about. If you order if you order this in an album or on the wall, then you get the duplicate price for the gift print. You get basically my print price, the cost of my product times 3 or 4 or whatever, and I rip all of the time costs out of there. You're never going to tell that or like explain that to the client, but
Right.
for you, that's what that is. I'm bundling my 8x10s, my 8x12s, my 5x7s, and my 4x6s in with either an album or wall art, making sure that I'm covering my costs to produce that image or get that image ready for print with the more expensive thing, and then just carrying those savings over or whatever to the smaller product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I never thought about it like that.
Hey, look at that. Yay! And I have a blog post all about this stuff over on the website. I'll post a link to that in the show notes as well, because I think that this to me is where things start to really, like, light bulbs start to go off. And you're like, oh wait, no, I can do this. Because when you start looking at, okay, I need to, let's get into pricing. You know what? Actually, let me make sure that we went through everything. Okay, so you've got your thumb drives and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, let's dig into this real quick. So you are going to offer digital files, which I think is great. Which you're not going to hear a lot of in-person salespeople say. Everybody likes to, like, no, you can't offer digital files. You're ruining the industry.
But if they're going to pay me $2,000 for it, I'll sell them all day long.
Absolutely. So let's talk cost of goods sold, right? Let's reverse for a second. Anybody listening who's like, what is this cost of goods sold you're talking about? Get your little math hats on for a second. This is basic math, though, because I am mathematically dumb. So I'm going to break it down to you in mathematically dumb terms. How many cents out of each dollar that I make when I sell something do I need to spend to be able to produce the product that I just sold? Let me say that one more time, maybe in a slightly different way. So for every dollar that I make in my business, how many cents out of that dollar do I need to spend to produce the product that I just sold? Right? So we really want to aim for somewhere between 25% cost of goods sold and 35% cost of goods sold. So for every dollar that comes into my business, I don't want to spend more than 25 or 35 cents to produce the product that was ordered. So if you think about it the other way, I would like to keep 75 cents or 65 cents from every dollar that comes into my business. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So your cost of goods sold is that amount of each dollar that is then spent to produce the product. And that includes your time. It's not just the cost of the product itself. How much time does it take me to create this product? And what is my time worth? Okay, I have to build that in because that is a cost of that good sold, if that makes sense. All right, so now let's look at that in the context of digital files. Okay, actually, before we dive into that, if you've got a bit of a math headache and you really cannot wrap your head around this concept, then I would encourage you to head over to theprintmakerpodcast.com/3. That's theprintmakerpodcast.com/3. And I've got all the links to all of those resources. It really explains this in much deeper detail. So go check that out, theprintmakerpodcast.com/3. If somebody wants to spend $1,000 on a thumb drive with 20 images, my cost of goods sold on that is like 2%. Like, my cost of goods sold is unbelievably low. And again, if we translate that back to the analogy we just used, that means for every dollar that I get, I'm spending 2 cents to produce that product. That's an amazing profit margin. So yes, offer them all day long. Plus, the digitals have become a gatekeeper. You will or will not get hired based on whether or not you offer digital files. So offer them.
Oh, yeah.
So offer them. And then this gets into a fun little conversation about digitals also that we run into a lot. And that is, should I even offer them, and how much should I charge for them? And, I think it even gets into what do I do and why do I do what I do? Because we personally gave the high-res digital files to anyone who ordered that image in wall art or in an album because they got what I wanted them to have. It's important to me as an artist, as a photographer, that you have something to hand down to your family, right? You as my client have something to hand down to your family. That's just me. That is something that I believe very strongly in. When you work with me, you have to have something to show for it. So I'm going to reward that purchase with the thing that I know that you want. Hey, you know what? Yep, we offer digitals. Don't even worry about it. You're going to get the digital file of anything that you order in an album or on the wall. That's going to encourage them to actually focus on the thing that we want them to focus on, which is real prints that can be enjoyed and handed down. And it's probably going to encourage them to get more because they'll see, look, out of this, I could pay $1,000 for the disc or the thumb drive. Now I'm showing my age. I can pay $1,000, yeah, for the floppy disk, exactly. Or I can get this album and I get all of those images as well, right? So again, this is like take it or leave it. If you don't want to do that, then okay, fine. There's no one way to do this, despite what you're going to hear in all of the IPS forums and Facebook groups. There's really no one way to do this. So for us,
we're also in we're in the digital age and there's no going back. Yeah. And so that's what people want. But unfortunately, that's all they're thinking is I just want digital files, but they're not thinking in 30 years, those files are going to be obsolete. And the only thing that they're going to have is any tangible product.
Exactly. So, and then, I'll store them in the cloud. Like, okay. That's like saying it's cool. I backed up all my photos on MySpace. That's
yeah.
Well, crap. Now what? That's just not going to do it for you. So, All right. So that's my rant on digital files. So this is one of those take it or leave it things. If you would like to follow our model, it worked really well for us and our clients were really happy with it. This idea of anything that you get on the wall or in an album is going to be, we're just going to give you that full res file. So that also gets into, offering, low resolution, these only print up to 4x6. You are fooling yourself if you think that your client is going to stick to that. If you think your client is not going to take that image file that was supposed to only be printed at 4x6 and is not going to print it at 11x14 or 16x24 and think that it looks amazing. And you're going to walk in and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that is so fuzzy and it looks terrible. And might
as well just give them the high res.
Just give them the high res file. What's the point at that, at that point? Again, just my opinion. It worked really well for us though. All right. Okay. So some people might be thinking, okay, we went through her entire product list now. How did you choose those products? How did you even know where to start?
Swift Galleries.
Yes. And your check is in the mail. I actually didn't mean now just plug this. But it was, what was it like
the style guide. It was because I had no idea. There's, like you said, there's so many freaking options out there. Yeah. That I had no idea where to start. But your style guide that I found helped me narrow it down. Cool. And found exactly what I want. And I was like, oh, my lab has this kind of stuff because I couldn't go through every single product my lab offered. That was just insane.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay, good. And I'll link to that style guide as well. Basically, the style guide walks you through 4 main different types of style, whether you're modern, classic, chic, or natural, I think are the 4. And it gives you a description of what that style is and then gives you an idea of various products that fit within that style. So if you're in the same boat and you're like, I do not have the time or energy or desire to go through 1,000 products and figure out what I should offer, it's a really, really good place to start. So I'll put a link to that as well. Okay, so from there, you went in and you filled out this pricing worksheet, and it was terrifying, right?
Yeah.
This worksheet basically asks her, okay, how long does it take you to do these things? Import a session, call a session, edit a session, place an order, upload images to your sales software, and then any additional stuff that maybe we forgot or that is unique to your process. And then it adds all of that up, and then it says, okay, how much do you charge for your time per minute? And you plug in a number there, and then it says, okay, here's the total cost for your time, and here's the cost of sale multiplier that we recommend. And again, it's all in that blog post. Don't freak out about this. It's really easy math when you know what the math is. And then what it does is it pulls all those numbers and it applies it across all of these spreadsheets. And as you're putting in your cost from your lab, then you see that automatically calculated out and you're probably like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. So hopefully, though, we have come up with at least one way with this offering duplicate products and bundling high cost of sale things with low cost of sale things to be able to overcome a lot of that initial throw up in your mouthedness. That's a new word now, but throw up in your mouthedness.
Paul Webster.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So do you feel a little bit better now by the end of this conversation than you did at the beginning of this about those prices?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. I need to create bundles
or just duplicate print pricing and stuff like that. And you'll really find that a lot of the stuff that feels really that gives you the throw up in your mouthedness is going to be those smaller products, your gift prints, your accessories, stuff like that. And those tend to also be products that you can bundle with other things. So you have to just look at the things that you offer, really know your numbers, which thankfully you are at the point now, you know your numbers. You're like, all right, I know what I need to charge. And then start thinking outside the box. What do I need to do? If I can't charge this much, then what do I need to do? And hopefully this kind of data-driven approach to your pricing is a little bit better for you than what is so-and-so charging down the street, and am I better or worse than her? Like, I hate that we see so many photographers kind of pricing things that way, saying like, oh, well, I'm better than her and she charges this much. And like, forget that. You don't know what her costs are. You don't know if she doesn't need to make any money because her husband's a millionaire, all of that stuff. Like, cool.
Fun.
Yeah, you need to you do you, boo. Just you find your prices, your costs, and make sure that you're covering all of that for yourself. So, all right, that leads me to one last point. And I made it earlier, but I want to make it again, and that is this. If you are listening and you're thinking, I want to do this, I would love to do in-person sales, but Chris, you're right. This is where I got stuck. I got stuck at products and pricing. Then I want to encourage you to make it work, then make it better. And if that means right now you are going to choose one product to start to sell, then even if you're like, I can't even choose one. Okay, great. I will choose one for you right now. You are going to go to Artsy Couture's website and you are going to start offering their gallery wrapped canvases. Okay. There, done. Now you know a product to sell. We just finished that for you. And okay, but how much should I charge? And what I need to charge my costs and my this and my time and my that. Forget it. Make it work today. Charge 4 times what they charge you. Just go sell those things this week. If you are sitting there thinking, I can't do this because I don't have the perfect product list in place, you never will. Pick one thing, if that's what it takes. Pick one thing, multiply it by 4, and make it better later. Is this perfect? Absolutely not. This is not where we want to be a year from now, not even 6 months from now. But if this is what gets you up off of your butt and makes you start actually selling products, then so be it. Pick one product, multiply it by 4, and go. And then start tweaking as you go. All right? Hopefully you feel now you have some more actionable things. I know last week was all just kind of getting baseline in place, but hopefully you feel like, okay, we're making some progress now. I have some other ideas on what products I should and shouldn't offer. I know what to do about some of these terrifying prices, and we're just going to build on top of that next week.
Cool.
Hey there, if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love if you'd do me a favor and leave us a review over on iTunes. This goes a long way in helping us spread the good word about in-person sales. If you'd like to download any of the resources we mentioned on today's episode, you can get those for free over at theprintmakerpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to being back in your ears next week.